Uh, Sitting here watching this freaking Alberino and Fritz Springmeyer little conversation they had. They recorded, made a video out of, and they're talking about how all these churches are built on ancient pagan, Neolithic pagan altars and all this, man. And it's not necessarily meaning that they're pagan, because listen, it's a symbol that we conquered your gods, or our God, your God is one of our God's followers or something. You know what I'm saying? It's like a real. It's kind of like when gangs, like, look, there's a main gang in a hood, right? New gang moves in. They go to all their graffiti and they start doing their graffiti over the top of the old graffiti. You know what I'm saying? Listen, that is the same thing. And I was telling my buddy, my Indian buddy, that I'm like, dude, when I was in Florida, every city I went to, there would be a plaque in the middle of the city, and it'd be like, yeah, this is used to be an Indian burial ground. Like, dude, downtown Tampa, there's this weird, like, sunken in spot, and there's a plaque in the middle of it, and it literally says that this was a graveyard when the city founders came or whatever, dude. And there's a I've seen this one of their hieroglyphs or whatever you want to call them. It shows a pyramid built on top of a bunch of skulls and bones. And I realize it's like, this is a real freaking ritual. They literally do. Like right here where we're at in Michigan, Genesee County. I'm sure a lot of this was built on top of burial sites. You know what I'm saying? And you look at that movie Poltergeist, right? And it's like, same thing like with Washington, D.C. I imagine that was probably a Indian site. And when you build on top of Indian sites, like the movie Poltergeist, whacked out shit happens. Same thing with what I heard of in Europe. They got something called fairy mounds. And listen, that's the same people who build the fairy mounds in Ireland and Scotland and England are the same people who built the Ohio Valley serpent mounds. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at least that's my theory, because they were here in America for sure. Those people from England. And I'm not sure if I've heard this. They talk about in the Bible Tarshish. Tarshish is where they used to get their tin or their iron or something from. And I've heard one person say that's England. That's the England area. So I mean, they were a trading outpost of the in the biblical times, man. According to that, and there were many sea people, man. And sea people can have a colony, and they can just up and disappear and move to a different section of the world, and they can drop in a land, take that shit over, and basically disappear into history like history ninjas. But that another thing I seen when they killed the buffalo in America, when they were doing the transnational or transatlantic or whatever railroad, Trans America Railroad, Manifest Destiny, which was really that was the nail in the coffin. That was like, listen, you have to join society now, civilization, because look, you can't live free and wild no more. There's not enough. The meat market's been shut down. You know what I'm saying? And it's been turned into a pyramid of fucking buffalo skulls. I mean, and that's that. When I seen this picture of the pyramid buffalo skulls, I was like, it really affected me. I'm like, dude, these people did this intentionally. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't just to civilize the land. That was to conquer the wild Indian, because they depended on the buffalo herds, man. And it's like those buffalo herds would run around from states to states. They were that freaking big. And it was that big of a thing that it went from states. Like, it wasn't just like from county to county. This was you know what I'm saying? There was a moving size of like a state of buffalo in America at one, like not too long ago, 200 years ago, and they fucking murdered it. And then they built all their cities on top of the Indians' burial sites, which even in European culture, should be a freaking taboo. That's like, wait, man, you don't build your houses on top of the dead bodies unless you're trying to tap into the poltergeist world. You know what I'm saying? The fairy world, the spirit world. So intentionally, you wonder why these cities have so much murder, like insane people, all this stuff. It's a curse from I ain't gonna say that it's not that a burial site is a holy thing. It should be separate from where you live. You know what I'm saying? So that there's no residual energy, and there's respect for the people who have passed on. Like even in the Bible, it says this. It says, if ye find a dead body and you bury it, it's like basically you're doing a good service to God Himself, because it's like for some reason it just, like God does in His Word, it says basically set things right where you can, when you can, and that's one way that you can do it. You find someone who was murdered, you find their body, and then you bury it. Give them a little quick prayer or whatever, and it helps, and God takes note of it. So this is important, and God will also take note that you intentionally found people's burial sites and built cities and castles and shit on top of them. And you know what I'm saying? The demons also will take note. You know what I'm saying? They'll be like, oh, there's a portal here. Thanks for the portal. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, but like I said, man, it's a very disrespectful type of thing. It's like we don't care about your people or your history. We conquered you. And what the fuck? Feather on my finger. Look at that. I don't know, man, but it's freaking crazy. Like literally, I mean, and then you can look at Washington D.C. for instance, and it's full of geomancy. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the way you get your shit popping off. You get it charged up, is you start to desecrate. That's what the word is. You desecrate sites that were set apart for burial purposes. They're areas of respect, and then they go in and disrespect them because look, they don't really look. God wouldn't tell you to do that. Like, what's funny is in the Indian culture, at a time they used to bury people with all their earthly belongings, and the Indians recognized that, like, wait a second, this isn't the way that we should. These people can't use none of the stuff we're giving them in the spirit world. So why are we loading them down with all these possessions in their grave? And you're basically making it harder for these people to transition to the spirit world. Instead, you should, like an inheritance, pass all their belongings on to the family members or the rest of the tribe. Just like Jesus says, he's like, yeah, these sepulchres are, yeah, they're awesome, beautiful marble, but in the inside they're nothing but, boxes for dead men's bones. So people they've built this whole. See, you don't build a ornamental tomb or grave for the person who died. It's basically it's almost like a way. It's just an object that the people still living can, in a way, feel. They can feel that they honored their loved ones who moved on. It's really for the people that are still left to look at and remember the person who's in there. But I mean, really, you're missing the whole. You know what I'm saying? You're missing. There's something about that blinds people. You know what I'm saying? And what would possess someone to want to tear down someone's burial site and build something on top of it? I mean, it's just they don't. I mean, they do that on purpose, but you're not supposed to do that. They say don't do that. Only we can do that. We can consecrate it because it's in Jasher, dude. The whole death cult, death scam, the burial scam, where you got to pay for burial. I mean, listen, look, burying someone, like I said, there is something to it, but they turned it into a commodity, into a market, into a hustle, into a scam. And this has been done all across America. And then at the same time, they've also used it as a hole puncher into the spirit world because they can have their evil fucking their evil guys, that set up society the way it is, utilize that evil energy that's leaking in from the spirit world by compromised grave sites. And like I said, you can look at the castle built on fairy mounds in England, and fairy mounds, look, and the mounds here, even though not all mounds are not Indian mounds. So the Indians did build mounds, and potentially they may have been taught by the same people who built the Ohio Valley. You know what I'm saying? And they're called the men of old. That's what the Indians called them. But you got to think, they weren't here forever. You know what I'm saying? They at least from my own tribal history, they weren't here forever. So when they say the men of old, that's like 1500 AD and down and backwards. So I mean, it's like, look, there's a lot of time since Christ that could have, but dude, 1500 years, that's a long time. And they didn't even know about America at that time. So I mean, it's like, people knew, but for some reason it wasn't. Not everyone knew about it. Only the high level kings were used. The high level pyramid kings would go to the South America for gold. You know what I'm saying? And cocaine and coffee. And then they would, up here in America, there was tobacco trade. And they found Egyptian mummies with tobacco, fucking cocaine, and marijuana, and all kinds of weird stuff in it. Like, they're like, wow, they had knowledge of this stuff since way back then.